Great. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to the 2022 Virginia Press Association News and Advertising Conference. I'm Rachel Flaherty, the Digital Services Manager at the VPA, and just wanted to thank you all for joining us. We can't wait to be back together again in person at next year's conference and awards banquet. So mark your calendars for May 5th and 6th, 2023 at the Short Pump Hilton. We have sessions today from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. If you've lost your Zoom link, you can head over to the VPA website's conference page and you can join each session there. Just a reminder that a $20 gift card will be randomly chosen at the end, so make sure you stay for the entire session. You will be muted during, so if you have any questions, just type them in the Q&A section section at the bottom and the presenter will get to them at the end. So let's get started. I'd like to introduce our first presenter. Gwen Vargo is the Vice President of Communications and Operations for American Press Institute, where she works to support and accelerate the growth of subscriptions and user revenue at U.S. news organizations. She specializes in helping media companies develop new models for user revenue, drawing on lessons she's learned over 20 years in audience development and marketing. So now I'll hand it over to Gwen.
Thank you, Rachel. Very happy to be here. We are actually American Press Institute are neighbors. We're in Arlington. Our offices are there. And back in the day, before 2013, we were out near kind of where Reston is, and we had those kind of on-site large seminar facilities. If we were in person, I always have somebody tell me about how great the seminars were when they used to go to them. So I always like hearing that. In 2013, American Press Institute had a shift in its focus and kind of its mission, and kind of got away from the traditional training and conference model into one that was really focusing on different aspects of audience and helping newsrooms better understand their audiences, and kind of through the lens of reader revenue, trust and accountability, news strategies, culture, skills, and analytics. But the thing that's bringing me and bringing us all together today is we are now talking about retention. And if, I come out of a circulation background, so I'm used to this leaky bucket analogy where if people are churning or, not subscribing, then you have to constantly fill in the bucket with new subscribers. And it's usually easier to keep people than to get new ones, and it's less expensive. And we're kind of at a point where this is something that is much more of a focus than just kind of the acquisition of subscribers. So last year we published a research report. It's free on our website. Here's a little link to it, and it's we wanted to talk to people about their retention practices, and these were everything from, testing price options to different ways folks are onboarding their digital subscribers, studying subscriber behavior. And there were about 40 of these tactics altogether. And we also asked people, of course, what they were doing, where they needed help, but also kind of things they were doing to be successful in within their own organizations. In addition to just asking what people were doing, kind of a yes, no, or I don't know, there was a couple of layers of nuance that we added, which was really helpful for us developing tools and resources for folks. One is that we asked people how proficient they felt their own organization was at a tactic. So, it could be very highly proficient, it could be not at all. And then we also asked, as a follow-up with that, is how valuable that tactic is. And what was really interesting from that research is that when we would find a gap, so if something, if there was a theme around something that people really maybe weren't feeling very proficient at, or they weren't feeling very confident about their organization's ability, or they didn't have the resources, but they felt it was valuable, that's a great opportunity for us and for me to think about, well, maybe there's an opportunity for training or resources, or here's an area where publishers kind of across the board are struggling. And it's something that we can really, helps us really focus on how we think about like these types of training and other things we're doing at API. So there's 6. I have 6 here that I'm sharing kind of broadly. The first one is about collecting information about subscribers' interests and behaviors. So, there's a couple of things here. I mean, this is definitely something where you want to be able to track their behavior and interest individually. So there's, kind of what an individual is doing, but also collectively. And people are able to do this on, a broader scale. You can definitely see what people are doing online, even broadly. And we've had people actually be able to, it kind of informs and adapts your content strategy, your editorial content strategy, so that you're meeting the subscribers in what their needs are. And it gives you some visibility into what's important to them and what they value in an informed kind of way. And you want to also identify habit forming actions like subscribing to a newsletter or downloading an app. We know, across the industry now that there's a direct link between engaging with subscribers. When they engage with the content, when they're engaging with us, they are definitely going to renew at a higher rate. They're less likely to churn. There's, so trying to build those habits of engagement are really, really important. So this is kind of a snapshot that's kind of illustrative of one of our partners that kind of went through this exercise of trying to see, and this is something that's happening on their website. So this wasn't a survey or something that they were kind of taking from other sources. This is directly how subscribers were interacting with these topics, and how what they called casual. So that the people who were not coming back to subscribe or not going deeper into the content, and they discovered some kind of opposite things. And they discovered that really local, hyper local things like the dining in restaurants and the shopping and local government were very important. And this is a partner that who has the shipping industry is very specific to that one partner where they are geographically, but every market, every area has something that's probably that is kind of specific to them, that can be of interest. And things like social issues and state government were really not the things that the paying digital subscribers were interested in, and that really helped them. We this state strategy or content definitely form, and they found they had higher engagement, and then it's a good exercise to the second best practices is trying to identify subscribers at risk. With if you can catch people before they are, we don't want to get people to the point where they're getting a renewal notice or their credit card's getting charged, and maybe they haven't really been engaging and they let their subscription lapse or they cancel it. So there's kind of a lot of things, and it's kind of funny because some publishers are calling them like waking up zombies or sleepers. And what this means is basically they're looking at a segment. They're looking at or paid digital subscribers, looking at this segment that isn't engaging with their content and targeting them very specifically to try to wake them up and engage them and get them to use. So they want to get that habit again. So once that's happening, they're actually seeing that it leads to an increase in retention. So that is a very, that's something that everybody can do depending in their within their own organizations. One of the things, I have this arrow down here because in the research that we did, this was an area where people across the board weren't really confident in their abilities at this. This was something that wasn't being done broadly, or it was being done, but they didn't feel that they had a lot of tools within their own organization to do this or have it as a focus at all. Sometimes when I give presentations, or I have in years past, sometimes we would do like marketing funnels or conversion funnels for things that are digital. We're really looking at shifting that from an acquisition or a conversion funnel to something that is engagement based, and ways that we can, and this is kind of an easy way to look at everybody that's coming, and we're not just looking at like page views anymore, but you can kind of really break it down by reach and engagement, conversion and retention. And there's a lot of places where this is kind of where it's not, the marketers might be doing some kind of specific things around converting subscribers, but everything that's in the lighter green bars is based on content and the subscriber values. So there's a lot of opportunities for kind of aligning the newsroom and the business teams to kind of have like the best possible outcome. So for when I think about kind of metrics, it's not because we're not looking at acquisition as as trying to just get as many people, new subscribers as possible. We're really trying to kind of nurture these relationships. The metrics are a little different, and so it's kind of, sometimes you'll hear folks say like RVF, and RVF stands for kind of the recency of unique visits. So it's not, and this is kind of getting back to the, kind of waking up the zombies or sleepers. If they're not recent, then, it's less likely to, that they're engaging and building this habit. It's not just that they're coming, but also maybe the volume of the content read or and consumed. And then the frequency is kind of a thing. If you're only having somebody come once a month, that's not going to be enough to engage people. So starting to look at some of these different metrics in a different way, or have these kind of in mind as things to pay attention to as you're kind of thinking through engaging and retaining people. So welcoming, engaging, and onboarding new subscribers. This is something where almost everybody in the research sent like a welcome thank you note. This is, very, very ubiquitous. Where there were, kind of maybe less used or less commonly adopted practices were kind of the other things, some of the other things, and other things to get people to do, to get that habit, get those habits forming and get that engagement up. And, I think there's a there's a lot of trials, or either like free trials, or sometimes if you have, an introductory rate that, that the end of that trial, because it's kind of a trial period, they're making a decision. They're either canceling, they're not, they're letting it lapse, but having to, you can't just acquire them and just kind of leave them on their own and assume they'll definitely pay. We have to really be kind of intentional and specific about going after them and creating these habits. So a few examples, welcome and thank you. Obviously, most folks are already doing that. Another way, is we're having a lot of letters from the editor is a great way to also talk about the value of the journalism, the, there's always kind of the commitment to mission and really and to local journalism, which is a great letters from the editor, a great way to kind of showcase that. It also is like a different thing into the mix. If you have a welcome tutorial, you can have links to that. Sometimes people do a little video or something. Important for habit building, kind of, this is the theme that also comes up a lot, is recommending newsletters. So just a couple of little screenshots I have here. One is about kind of getting newsletters. That is, these are taken from part of what is an onboarding series. The piece on the right to that is kind of something that came from online. So the other thing about an onboarding series is it's not necessarily just email, right? This is something that's online. This is something that is like, oh, here's ways to interact with us. Here's some things you can do online. Here's ways to manage your account. And so, it doesn't have to necessarily be, okay, here's a set number of emails or whatnot. There's definitely ways to interact with folks while they're online too. Having content suggestions or article suggestions, there's you could do it in a broad way where you're making the same recommendations to folks, or it could be very custom or personalized based on what that subscriber has already started consuming, or a topic that they're interested in. But at the higher level, at a more general level, you can definitely recommend content that maybe is valuable to subscribers in general, or something that you want to make them aware of. With the subscriber benefits, like, it's not just the content. There's like these other things that you get. So kind of restating the value for subscribers along the way, it's really important. And rewards and discounts from partners is something that publishers are doing. They're testing it, and some of them are having quite success. Others are just starting something down this path. Another kind of easy thing, and this is the survey is something that kind of like pops up online, is another touch point. These are also kind of common. We're like see these in our on other parts of our lives, but it really lets people know, like, oh, we are listening and you're our priority, and we want to hear from you and see how we're doing. I know sometimes kind of like maybe traditionally we would send surveys if somebody's subscription lapsed, and that's still, that can still be still a valid tactic, but it's after the fact. This is something that kind of like takes the temperature, kind of in the middle of the subscription, or, kind of early on in the process. So we want to make sure that we're not missing anything. Another best practice that kind of surfaced from our research is measuring and testing the initial subscription promotion and offer. This is something that's kind of, it's a little bit new as we think through, because I think sometimes what I found and what we found is that sometimes there may be a disconnect between the acquisition of a subscription, getting a new subscriber, getting that new digital subscriber, and the active engaging and retaining. And sometimes they're even different people, or it's, it's not, they may not realize that those things are actually can be connected. And this was something, just kind of interested to see how publishers were handling these things. I think that there's, and we're actually finding kind of broad differences. I think there's people who are offering really steep discounts or a long promotion period. And kind of get a high retention after that, but work very hard to engage with them during that period. There are other people that are having success, maybe not doing such a deep discount, but you're getting, it's kind of, maybe you're getting fewer initial orders, but because more people are renewing and they're coming in at a higher rate, the revenue over time is comes out ahead. So, it comes, it kind of, it forces us to kind of step back and take kind of this at a longer level, like a longer view, that what you're doing at the outset of your new business acquisition marketing could, is impacting what's happening or impacting the likelihood. So, I think that's something that's, I know we've had people that have, or they didn't really realize that there was a connection or that one could influence the other. So, and there are, other things people are testing is some people have free trials. If you do a free trial, there's kind of a credit card free trial where the trial ends and the credit card is charged. There's a free trial without a credit card. If you don't have a credit card, you probably have to work harder to get that conversion because it's just not automatic. But in both, you definitely want to engage folks and kind of make sure that they're, engaging with the product, they're building those habits, so that when you go to charge them, have them start being a paid digital subscriber, that they've already started building those habits and started building we've had the relationship with people. And people, and some people test different billing cycles as well. Subscriber only benefits. This is something that, I think we referenced in the onboarding piece, that there could be, something that you're showing as a benefit to having a subscription. It's, the content, the journalism, of course, is highly valuable. But there's other benefits that can be added into the mix that kind of help hold up that value and kind of really support the value proposition of the subscription. And we saw rewards programs and even things like there was a screenshot of the newsroom, because there's people are having a lot of success actually with just letting subscribers have meetups with the newsroom, or people who are now obviously we're just getting back to things physically. So this was research was done pre-pandemic. So but the concept and the value of the connection and the relationship build is still the same. We've had, newsrooms do town halls or meetups and whatnot, and that's been very helpful. The sixth and last, tracking content that subscribers engage with. I kind of have these in what I think about like a lift, like how much of a lift is each one of these recommendations. So the lightest lift is using analytics to track what subscribers are reading. Almost everybody already has Google Analytics. This is an easy, that's something that you already have, and you can kind of start to see what subscribers at a whole are reading. A mid-level amount of lift is being able to recommend email newsletters to subscribers based on the content that they're engaged with. So it's not just saying, here's every newsletter we have. It's much more targeted. It's much more about knowing the topics that are important to them, what they're reading online, and being able to kind of customize the recommendations based on what you know about the content that they're reading. really heavy, a much heavier lift is very, a lot of personalization, where you're giving very unique recommendations informed by their past behavior. This is kind of a screenshot that, we have from our, we have an analytics tool called Metrics for News. And one of the things that they have, and this is, kind of a good way to illustrate it, is kind of being able to see a dashboard or being able to see what types of content and stories drive subscriptions. And, it really helps, it kind of, the idea that we started with about, collecting information. This is something where, you can definitely have a sense of, have a clearer sense, having a more transparent, kind of look at what's important to people based on what they're doing. Because there's sometimes, I think if you do subscriber surveys or reader surveys, there's always the, they may, hearing what's important to them is good. Seeing how they actually go through your site, how they're actually consuming things, what newsletters they're signing up for, what apps they're down, I kind of all of the things around that. Those are very tangible behaviors. Those are things that are, definitely something that is going to lead. So here's my recap, which means I'm at the end. I think I may have run through that too quickly. I'm sorry. I've had a lot of coffee this morning, so I'm excited to talk about it. But the first thing we talked about was collecting information about subscriber interests and behaviors. Definitely a way to inform not just the business practices, but the content as well. Inform, not dictate, of course. Being able to identify subscribers who are at risk of cancellation, getting those zombies to wake up or sleepers, to have a strategy around finding ways to things that segment respond to. Welcoming, engaging, onboard new subscribers beyond the welcome. Most people are sending a welcome email. What else can we do? What other types of ways to engage people? That's not a short process. That can be over months. It should be over months. It's not something that is just 3 things. And all, kind of all of these things are, very testable, right? You can test the different components in the onboarding. You can test, the timing of them. Everything's, kind of test, most stuff, is very testable. You can see what works. You can test the best time to send things, and whatnot. Not forgetting that what you do at the acquisition impacts the retention, is important to keep in mind. And even as you're testing initial offers, it's something that affects churn. Subscriber only benefits. There's a lot of different ways to do this. There's a lot of choices. And I think we found in the research that most people were giving exclusive content. So, subscriber only content online or whatnot, but the utilization of the other things across the board it wasn't as pervasive. And being able to track what content subscribers specifically engage with are very important. That's my questions. That's my thing.
So now we'll open it up for any questions you may have. You can type it in the Q&A or the chat. While we wait for any questions, I will go ahead and announce the $20 gift card winner is Kyle Talley. Congratulations. We'll be notifying you at the email address you registered with.
I can make this slide available, but I have some, if we don't have questions, I do have other resources. I can remind folks that we do at American Press Institute. We have Metrics for News tool, which lets you kind of track your audience and see the content. And it's a web-based application that lays on top of your data. We have a new tool that called Source Matters, and this is something that is kind of very specific to targeting and understanding, the different kind of the different sort, like the of the diversity of your sources, and this is something that we can do, and we can do it within people's CMSs. We also do it's called the Local News Transformation Program, but most folks know this as table stakes, which is a kind of change management program. And there's all different, we have all these different versions, including a major market, Pointer, ASU, and UNC. And there's information there. And off of the table stakes program, we have a website called Better News, which is a lot of case studies and resources that are kind of launched off of the activities that the publishers experience through the table stakes program.
And we have a question. For those of us working with tight budgets, what are the most effective engagement tactics in your opinion?
I think this is definitely where I would lean heavily into onboarding and engagement there. We have, and if there aren't newsletters, I think email newsletters are a very good tool, not just to broaden your audience, but also to engage with people. And I also say newsletters because regardless of the size of your organization, you definitely have a CMS of some type to produce your content and publish it. So kind of getting a newsletter out of that is something that's kind of usually doable with kind of staff and things you have. And even if you can't do, some of those kind of one-to-one things that happen online, which might be a little more kind of beyond, if you don't have some of those tools, you can definitely have the editor, you can definitely send a letter from the editor. You can definitely highlight content if you know what is valuable to your subscribers. If you can look even at a high level, you'll know kind of which content to promote in those, in those efforts. You can do the survey that popped up that was kind of with the little smiley faces. That's something you could do in a Google form. You could do it in an email. There's, there's some ways that you can do it where you're already reaching out to people, and that doesn't have to be as kind of personalized or kind of one-to-one marketing when someone's online and you have all this information about them, and and that's great if you have that system set up, but kind of arguably most people don't, and arguably most people are, and everyone is definitely limited resources is something we hear all the time. It's definitely a reality, and I get it.
Okay, another question. Do you have any metrics on what types of stories typically cause potential subscribers to make the commitment to become subscribers?
The statistic is that it depends. I think that the slide we had with the kind of things that were highly engaging to subscribers, so things that are tend to convert are often more local things, like dining, like very local government, not the state government. But that's something that you would really want to test and see. We've also, depending on the market, had like high school sports sometimes. Even though it might not be, kind of think about that, but you think, oh, well, actually, that's a very local thing, right? Of course, the big sports, college and national sports is one thing, but often, in different markets, but often high school sports and high school football, depending on where you are, is something that can drive it. But in another market, it might not. It's really very specific to wherever you are. But I would say those types of topics and things are usually things that resonate.
Okay, another question. You mentioned that we should conduct surveys as a piece of our onboarding process. What are some survey questions you suggest we ask?
The survey example we had was actually pretty straightforward. It was a just kind of, how are we doing? And I think that there's an opportunity after just kind of an initial evaluation, that there's kind of a follow-up about, I think if you're getting, kind of a positive response, that's great. And you can record that. If someone's having an issue, there's definitely, kind of, follow-up questions about, what are they, what's not resonating. Can you reach out to people afterwards? If people are really upset, can you involve your customer service people, or involve, people on the team to kind of really have a good understanding of what the issue is.
Does anybody else have any questions? I just wanted to thank you, Gwen, and to everybody who has joined us today. And just to let you know that our next session, Flexing Our Curiosity Muscle, Relationships plus Communications Across Culture with Team Dynamics, will begin at 10 a.m. If you have lost your Zoom link, you can always find a Zoom link for every session at the VPA website's conference page. If everybody is done asking questions, we'll go ahead and wrap up. Thank you so much, Gwen.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Have a good day.